Hey, Derek, welcome.
Thank you. It's good to be here. It's good to be.
It, it's so good to have you here. Thank you for agreeing to meet and speak to me about your experiences and share yourself with the world.
Yeah. Well, I'm out here now ready to share myself with the world thanks to these groups or this group.
Oh, so good. So, just to kind of jump in, let's take a moment for you to introduce yourself and just kind of tell us who Derek is. Like, what do you want people to know about you? And maybe if you remember how we met, that would be very cool too. I just remembered before the interview.
Well, so if you all were to know one thing about me, it would be that I love humor, I love comedy, I love all of those things. But me as it relates to specifically this group, um, I guess it all started when I was a young pup. I literally legitimately cannot remember a time when my relationship with food was not one of like compulsion and like using food as to cope or like binge eating. um I cannot remember a time where my relationship with food wasn't related to like some sort of like pain, like painful like process. Um, and so when I was a kid, I was literally morbidly obese. And then I lost a bunch of weight, and then I would gain weight, and then lost weight, and then gain weight, and just really in this cycle, and not really knowing exactly like the mechanisms of how to get out of it. I was able to go to the gym and exercise. I was able to, for periods of time, like eat healthily. And But it always ended with me going back to the same ways of like binge eating and going to certain foods, and then uh, just stopping like being active, things like that. Or on the opposite end, I would try and like muscle my way through it, and like with sheer willpower, uh like overexert myself, and um just try to like beat my way into it. um and so and for me, in addition, it would like leak into other areas of my life where I was super anxious, and I was always afraid of being myself
Mm.
around pretty much everyone, even my family members. I was just so afraid. Like I wanted to please everybody. I was so afraid of conflict. Um, and I realized that I didn't have like a sure foundation within myself to really stand up for myself, for my needs. I put the needs of others before mine. And so and would and now I see that I would just run from things that I thought would be painful, especially emotional pain. I buried a lot of emotions like anger, sadness, things like that, until within this past year, I had an experience where I was faced with pain, and I had in my mind I had no option but to face it. And in facing it, I realized, wow, like I'm more capable than I thought. Uh, and I started to look at patterns that I had developed throughout my life. And I started being more open with people about my uh, quote unquote issues with eating or my relationship with food, and realized that I'd never really addressed it. I'd never really gone to see like sought outside help. I always felt shame around it, especially if I'm being honest, especially being a man. Um, yeah, at the same time, I started being open and honest with people about it, and people were supportive. And a friend of mine, she's the one who recommended or referred me that I get in touch with Galina, that she has a Facebook group that addresses this specifically. And so I joined the Facebook group and was intrigued. And then uh, I decided that I would take the next step and do the intro, like initial workshop to kind of get an idea of where she's coming from, or where you're coming from, um, and kind of take it from there. And that's when I was like, oh yeah, I'm into this.
Hmm.
Everything that you were talking about aligned and res resonated with the things I had been learning up to that point about the nervous system, and trauma, or just a bunch of things that relate to my relationship with food that I never really thought of as relating to my relationship with food. So that's how I came to know you, and the rest is history. And then I decided to do the group that's been phenomenal.
Yeah, so good. So good. I remember meeting you and I was like, oh my God, Derek is on the way. He's already done so much, and this would just complete his journey. And I remember being so excited meeting you, especially since probably less than 5% of my students are male. And it's such an honor and a rare opportunity. And it's so beautiful. And it was so wonderful to have you in a group. You guys just had your last teaching session yesterday. You have graduation next weekend. And I'm just so proud of all of you. My heart is really full.
And that's something that I actually would love to talk about is I knew going into this that I would likely be uh, the only male. And at first, I wouldn't say they were reservations, but at first I was like, I wonder how that's going to go. But what I found is that I it didn't feel odd. It just felt normal. You know what I'm saying? Like
Mhm.
it was all good. Like uh, we all had so much in common, with things that have nothing to do with one's X or Y chromosome. Uh, it was just all really good. Like I felt super good, and like part of everything. Yeah.
Hmm. And I feel like you just dove in right away. I remember when your group was starting was right around the time that we had a five rhythms workshop, and you were like, I'm gonna do this dancing thing, I'm gonna do it all, and it was so
Yes.
beautiful.
Well, I was ready. Like I really was. Like when I started, I wasn't sure like what to expect, but I knew that I was ready, and I knew because of my friend's referral, and because I was just in a place of like, I'm doing this. Like I'm tired of not prioritizing myself and like the things that I want in life. And so it made it easier for me, just like, okay, I'm like, whatever this is, I'm gonna do it. If I'm gonna do it, I'm gonna go all in. And I'm glad that I did, because going all in uh, has brought so many benefits. So many benefits. Yeah.
Hmm. I love it. Would you share how you are experiencing those benefits? What are some of the things that you've noticed through doing our group work over the last 7 months?
Um, I think one of the greatest things that I've gained from the groups, from the experience, from like the teaching as well, is a perspective on my body that I never had before. Um, I was introduced to my nervous system like I never have been before. And I never, ever, ever realized how significant our nervous system is in really everything, how it affects everything, and how the state of my nervous system will can dictate like the thoughts that I have. the behaviors that I have, even what kinds of foods that I might go to, even the like compulsion to eat food, um, is all like so much affected by my nervous system. So that perspective and that paradigm shift was amazing. In addition to the fact that, ooh, this is good, Galina, this is good. In addition to the fact that everything that my body, everything that my nervous system has been doing my whole life is for my own good,
Mm.
is to help protect me, to help keep me safe, and is 100% appropriate given the circumstances that it's been in or perceived itself to be in. Right. So this gave me a greater understanding or perspective on like, wow, I don't have to fight my body. Uh, I don't have to hate my body, something I've done my whole life. Uh, I learned like from that perspective, I learned to respect and honor my body for everything that it's been trying to do my entire life. All
Mm.
these things, even the way that it's wanted to eat. I'm like, oh wow, that makes sense to me now. Like that's it. Like everything in my life now, all the experiences that I've had now make sense
Mm.
from this perspective. And because they make sense, I don't have oof, because they make sense, I don't have to feel shame about it.
Right.
You know, I don't have to like beat myself up for it
Mm.
or feel bad about it or think that I'm less than or like some way incompetent for the for my life. Uh, and so now my actions are more with eating and with everything. My actions are more founded and based in love and acceptance, rather than like hate or like judgment,
Mm.
which changes everything. It really changes everything. Um, yeah, so that perspective is huge, a huge shift. And then knowing that my nervous system affects so much of my life, like things that I would have not never even considered it to affect, uh, and then learning tools and strategies to be able to work with my nervous system, to like reconnect with my nervous system, and to guide my nervous system moving through waves of energy or waves of emotion, uh, really, really is so empowering that I now don't feel like things are happening to me or like emotions are so overwhelming or so overcoming that I have to like push away from them or stuff them down. I can process them appropriately now, um, in ways that I never could before. Uh, Galina, I know you remember this, but in our first consultation, you talked to me about how my cup is like this big or this small, and I can only handle so much, right? Before I get overwhelmed. And in these groups, I'll learn how to make it this big or this big so that anything that does come, I can handle. Yeah, it's the same amount of energy, but I can handle it. And that's exactly what's happened. Even at work, people would ask me to do things, and I would like secretly just be like, like just like cursing in my head of like, because I was just felt so overwhelmed. I'd be so resistant. And now someone will ask me to do the same thing. And I'm like, oh yeah, I can totally do that. I don't have to be resistant. I don't have to feel overwhelmed about it, uh, which is huge. And so, like, yes, the group is called Peace with Food, but it's so much more, right? Like, I have benefited literally in every aspect of my life from
Mm.
it. I feel like I'm more myself than I've ever been. And not only that, I now have more of an appreciation for that self, for who I am, that I get to be me in this world. I get to come out of hiding and I get to be me in this world, which is priceless. It is absolutely priceless. those are some benefits for sure. Like my life is completely different. And I don't mean that, like, I mean in every way my life is different, has changed for the better.
That's beautiful. I have witnessed your capacity grow, but also have witnessed your appetite for capacity grow simultaneously. And it's just been so beautiful to witness. And yesterday's session, our last teaching session, which was about authentic expression and being ourselves in the world, so beautiful that you have that. And it's great to be a witness of it. It's really a blessing to be a witness of it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
previously, like I learned somehow that like different is bad. If I'm different, it's bad. Or if I think differently than someone, that's bad. And now I see, no, that's not the case. That I get to be me, I get to be different. And that's so good. That's so
Mm.
good. Yeah. I get to be
It's so
loyal
good.
to myself. I get to be loyal to myself. It's so
I,
huge.
I love that. I love that so much. And all the energy that comes with it. All the energy that comes with it.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
I something that just came to me as well. Another benefit that has to do with everything that we've been talking about is that I feel liberated. I
Mm.
feel empowered. I feel like I now have a choice. Uh, I have choice. I have options. Whereas before, I just felt like I didn't have a choice, or like I had to do things, or um, I would just be so overwhelmed, like things were happening to me, and now I get to be the creator, like the producer of things happening in the world. Like I get to design my life. I get to choose who's in my life, what's in my life, what I do in my life, how I respond, how I interact with the world, you know, instead of feeling like I'm being controlled like a puppet by others.
Beautiful. Yeah. That's really a place of agency, right? In our own lives. And being in connection with it just wants us to be active participants in our lives. It's like, oh, yeah, it's not just an idea, it's not like an affirmation. No, this is it. I'm actually living it.
And what's crazy is that I know now, I see now from these groups that a lot of the reasons I was allowing myself to conform to others or to like please others and not be myself or hide from being myself or be more loyal to others and their interests and needs and wants and desires than my own is because I was afraid of disconnection. I was afraid of like losing relationships or losing love or not being loved or not being lovable, not being accepted. Um, and therefore it's like I can't be myself, like who I am is unacceptable is what I thought.
Right.
And if people really knew who I am, like oof, no way. And so as to save the relationship, I would conform. And what I'm realizing now is I'm seeing that what I'm realizing now is that I'm being myself, I'm being loyal to myself, I'm setting boundaries uh and really like being myself and not taking action based on others or like pleasing others, but more for like what's best for me. Um, those things, even though they may differ from what other people may think or like their wants and needs, like instead of instead of the disconnection I thought that I would feel, I now feel even more connected to myself and to the people around me. Right? Like my whole life, I thought like, oh no, I can't be myself. I'm going to be disconnected. Me being myself brings so much more connection to like me within and like the outside world. It's insane.
Yeah.
It's
Mind
insane.
blowing, isn't it? That we
Yes.
protect ourselves from something that actually ends up being our freedom. It's so beautiful.
I don't need, and I no longer need to, I never have, but I now see that I no longer need to like walk on eggshells in life, or I don't need to avoid certain places or certain people because I won't know what to do or I'll feel too overwhelmed. I can now I now have the confidence to walk into any situation or speak with any person and not feel like I need to know exactly what's going to happen before it happens. I can just allow things to like flow freely, knowing and having confidence that I'll know what to do in the moment when I need to do it. It's totally different than how I related before, where I was just so anxious. Like I need to know what's going to happen. I need to like have a plan because if I don't have a plan, then I won't know what to do and I won't be safe. And now I have the safety of knowing uh, I'm capable, I'm competent,
Yeah.
and I can make quote unquote mistakes. Like who cares?
Right.
You know,
Oh my God.
it's so liberating. Yeah.
Yeah. And in turn, you get to liberate others to be themselves and make their own mistakes and have the relational generosity to forgive them. Just so
Yeah.
beautiful.
Like it sounds so funny and so weird, but like through the group, I have found it's like I'm experiencing what it's like to be human uh,
Mm.
for the first time in such a beautiful way. To me, it's like someone who's been hard of hearing or deaf their entire life or colorblind their entire life, hearing for the first time and or seeing color for the first time. It's like, oh my gosh, like this is life. This is what life like has been or like could have been or like what it is. Like, whoa. And I never knew it until I did. Uh, and because of this group, I can say now, like, wow, I know what it's like to actually live my life instead of like just being in life.
Hmm. That takes my breath away. It's so moving. Oh God, yes. Because that's exactly how it is.
Then which then translates or like affects my relationship with food like in every way.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's so much bigger than that, like so much bigger than that. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. You know, you mentioned food, which is kind of like what gets people to come into the group program. And it's called Peace with Food. And it's the Peace with Food transformation group. Um, my husband keeps saying it should be called Peace with Stuff. It's like
Yeah. Peace with things.
peace with things. It's like it sounds more like a program for somebody who has a hoarding problem, but okay.
Like, but that's the beauty of it, is that it's so deep and it's so expansive that like it I truly believe that it has the power capacity to help with anything because it really is peace. It's like, yeah, it should be called peace, like peace
Yeah.
with life, like
Yeah.
peace with self, you
Mhm.
know. And like and it's not necessarily like things have shifted 100% within like my outside world. Like so much has shifted in my like what I'm able to see in like my experience in like money, in job, in relationships. So much has shifted. At the same time, it's more that my ability to like manage and like be with my life that's changed the most. You know, like the energy coming into the cup, maybe it's the same, but like my capacity to manage it has like increased exponentially.
That's
You
so
know,
amazing.
and that's empowering. More stuff keeps coming up and out. That's empowering because then that means I don't have to control everything. I don't have to be this control freak or blame freak thinking like I could be peaceful if if only you were this way, or if only
Yeah.
my life were this way, then I could be peaceful, then I could be happy, then I could be content. I can be content, peaceful, joyous, joyful no matter my outside circumstances, and have the capacity to change them or
Hmm.
like leave them. Yeah. Very,
Amazing.
yeah.
Amazing. Since what got you in the group initially was looking at your relationship with food in a way you had never looked at it before, what would you say it was like before, and what is it like now?
Before before I came into the group, I had taken strides. Like I knew that I wanted to finally face my relationship with food, my relationship with my body, and everything that has to do with it. I started eating healthier. I started working out and exercising. Um, but it was still, again, like going against the grain in a way. It was still like I'm gonna make this happen, and it was coming from a place of like hating my body and like just wanting to get out of where I was in. Now on the other side, like, do I want to eat healthy? Yes. Do I want to exercise my body? Yes, so much. However, it now comes from a place of love, like I a love and respect, where it's not like I'm running from something I don't want, but rather like I'm strolling along, whistling toward what I want or toward who I know I am as a healthy being. Like my focus more now is like I want to be healthy because I love myself. I love my body and I love what it does for me. I no longer need to shame it for myself. Uh, and so that's the great thing is like no matter what my body looks like, I now like love it and realize like I'm acceptable no matter what.
Hmm.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm acceptable no matter what. Uh, and therefore there doesn't need to be, like, I no longer have this great compulsion for myself to be a certain way, to look a certain way, to like act a certain way, to be perceived a certain way. I can now just be myself. I can enjoy food no matter what it is. Like I don't have to feel like I need to like restrict
Hmm.
or like I no longer need to like avoid certain things because I feel like they're bad or that they're going to make me feel guilty or things like that. So like so my relationship and perspective on myself has shifted exponentially. Um yeah, and then again like for me uh I'm kind of a geek in this way or like of like I love learning about the nervous system, about like the physiology, and like knowing how my body functions and works is a game changer for me. You know, it's like you don't you don't need to know. I think this is true. Like with electricity, like yeah, you don't need to know all the like workings of like electricity or like electrical outlets to like know they work. You just plug something in, you just turn it on. But like when you do, it's like it's so fascinating and so like and you can work more with it like because now have a greater understanding of my body and its own circuitry. I know more now how to work with it instead of against it,
Hmm.
which for me makes all the difference. Or like if I'm if my body or if my system is craving a certain kind of food, I could be like, oh, that's because of this. And then I have now the option, do I eat that because of this reason or do I not? You know, and I don't have to feel bad about either one, but I now have choice. Like it's given me the ability to now reflect and like and assess. You know. and then choose. And I can't go wrong.
That's a huge deal because it's both moving away from trauma physiology where we don't have choice, um, and then removing all the judgment that we typically have around not having choice, right? Because choosing between this diet and this detox is not choice, right? And then that's why it's so hard on us. And I love hearing about how things have shifted for you.
Yeah.
Yeah. Is it okay if I ask a question about the group directly?
You can ask any question you want.
So I have at least a couple of people who email me every week who say, Galina, we want to do your Peace with Food group, but we don't want to do it in a group. Can you just teach me what you teach in the group one-on-one? And the fact that long-term one-on-one clients join my groups shows that, at least to me, it's clear that there's a completely different benefit. But I would love to hear from you. What was it like for you to have the experience of being in a group? Because we also had one-on-one experiences within the group experience.
I I love the hybrid model. I love being able to have the group and being able to have one-on-one experiences. At first, for me, if I'm being 100% honest, at first, um, I think understandably and appropriately, my nervous system was a little like resistant or apprehensive, even though like, yes, I want to be here. It was also kind of like, whoa, like, who are these people? And I can understand why someone would want to do it just one-on-one. Um, However, what I experienced was that as I was in the group and as I, as I, as we created and cultivated an atmosphere where wherever you're at, that's okay. Wherever you're at, it's perfect. It's appropriate. And so in the beginning, especially, like there were times where I was just like, eh, I'm just feeling resistant. Like, and I didn't need to be anywhere I wasn't. I didn't need to smile if I wasn't feeling like smiling. You know what I'm saying? Because I think that was part of the resistance is like, oh, like I know I'm more inclined to like be a certain way around people. Uh, and because the atmosphere of safety was cultivated, uh, my nervous system's like, oh, cool, like, oh, all right, no, we got this. This is all right. And then it shifted to like, oh no, I love this. Um, the experience as a whole of the group would not be the same, or like the whole experience would not be the same without the group. Uh, it it makes it like and in ways that I don't fully understand nor can't necessarily like explain. Uh, in every way, it helps because you're able to be with people that you, at least this was my experience. I was able to be with people that I felt like were my people, even though we may be in different parts of the country or like seem to be different in certain ways. Like we all shared some very deep common threads. So that was awesome just to know like, oh, I'm with people that get it, that get me. Uh, and also it was fun to get to know them, to get to know everyone's personality and to experience these shifts together where we were all learning and growing together as like a cohort, as a group. Um, and then there's something to be said about like the physiology of like being with people, like of processing in group, like processing and being seen and like supported by others, which is from what I understand, which is how our nervous system is wired. to process in group, and to go through these experiences and these emotions like in group, which is difficult when we're taught, I believe, in our culture or society, like your emotions are your own. Like you deal with those on your own. It's not appropriate to bring your emotions and like your stuff out in the open to other people. Uh, and so that's why like that's why like being in the group was such an amazing experience, because it's not, at least in my experience, it's not often that I'm with people able to like process these things. Yeah, and go through exercises and experiences that help us learn tools together, that help us reflect together. I was able to understand myself in ways through other people, through their experiences of themselves. Like they were able to explain something in a way that I had experienced but didn't really know how to explain. And I'm like, oh wow, like yeah, me too. Whoa, yeah, me too. Um, and I guess just the presence of other people, like presence and consistency of other people, like this is your family, this is your tribe, this is your cohort, felt really good and feels really good. I would it would in no way would it be the same experience done one on one. It would be, it would not, I believe it would not be as beneficial nor valuable.
I believe that as well. I believe that as well. And there's so many reasons why it works in a group. But it's so beautiful to hear you reflect that and how it affected you. I love your group. I'm gonna miss you guys so much, and do my best to include you in the next steps forward for those of you who want, because it'll be such a blessing to just keep seeing you and seeing your growth. I feel like a group is almost like an accelerated container for change. Because I do change work with people all day long, and I know how long it takes working one-on-one, and I know how long it takes working in a group. There's just something profound about being seen. If you see me, if you feel me, if you get me, if I feel related, then my change can happen. And this relationship, which is I feel you feeling me, is so powerful, because we're so disconnected from our systems, right? We're like these floating heads, most of us in the modern world. But feeling felt is a physical experience. So you need people who are in their bodies for that, right? And so you get a bunch of people who are in their bodies, and we do this in the presencing work in the Transformed Collective after the groups graduate. For those of you who move on, we do presencing sessions, which are all about feeling each other. And it's the most beautiful work ever, because we're not really learning anything new. We're just donating our nervous systems to feel others who need it. And it's so beautiful. Like I told you guys when you were starting, you know how you can donate blood and you're like, yeah, I'm an O positive, and and my blood works so well for people. Being in a group is like donating your nervous system to others, and it is the most beautiful work. And in return, they give you theirs with all of their adaptations. And so you learn how to be with people who are a little more fight or flight. You learn how to be with people who are loud and have big emotions. You learn how to be with people who are frozen. And your system is like, I can be with all states of the nervous system, and I can stay open and related. It's beautiful.
Yes, and that's one thing that was very helpful too. Is that in various times throughout the group, like we were all in different states at different times, and so then to be able to be in my state, or like contemplate and reflect on where my nervous system is, like, and be like, oh, like this person is in their state, and I can be in my state. I don't have to like
Right.
leap forward to like rescue, or like I don't have to like like I don't have to like change, or like I can be exactly where I am. I can be helpful, but I don't have to like leave myself in order to help. Oh, that's one of the greatest things I learned, is that in order to connect with another human being, I do not have to disconnect from myself, which I subconsciously or somehow believed my whole life, is that like it's impossible to be connected to myself and another person at the same time. But what I'm realizing is that, again, paradoxically, the more I am connected with myself, the more I'm able to connect with others, set boundaries, and feel closer to others because of those boundaries, instead of more separated.
That's
Yeah.
beautiful. That's so quotable. I'm so gonna quote you. This is
Like,
beautiful.
yeah,
I
and
love
like
it.
in the group we get to practice that.
Yeah, we totally get to practice that and see that we can put a boundary and stay in connection,
Mhm.
that we can be connected to someone's process without leaving ourselves. And I think a lot of food behaviors are really around that leaving ourselves.
100%.
So
Yes.
so much around that. And we can talk about beautiful metaphors about nourishment and mother energy and earth and the earth element and grounding and forward movement and the spleen energy and all that stuff. But at the end of the day, we wouldn't be eating if we were full,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
right?
Yeah. Yes. Yeah.
We just
Because
wouldn't.
yeah, I remember like for most of my life just feeling unsatiated. Like no amount of food would satiate or satisfy the like hunger I felt, or like the like it just wasn't enough, because like you'll maybe I think I may be quoting you, like you'll never have enough of like what you don't need, or like your body will never have enough of what it doesn't need. Like yeah, I'm giving it food, but it's wanting something else, you know.
It's amazing. So you've spoken about safety, you've spoken about finding, like landing inside yourself, being able to express yourself authentically. You've spoken about how every facet of your life is different. And I'm just so in awe of your transformation. It's been so beautiful to watch it. And I'm wondering, what do you want to say to somebody who is maybe where you were a year ago? Somebody who's in that place that's like, oh my God, things are hard. And I'm using food to cope with my life. And there's just no way out of this. I've tried a million things, nothing's worked, or nothing's worked to the extent to which I needed for my healing. What do you have to say to someone who's maybe there in their journey?
There are so many things that go through my mind. I would say it's difficult to say anything without it sounding like repetitive cliche, but things are cliche, I think, for a reason. Um, I will speak for myself when I say that everything changed the moment I decided pain is okay. It's okay. Like, it's okay. And in that, what I'm really doing, what I'm really doing is I'm accepting. I'm accepting. Like, I, I'm saying it's acceptable to be exactly where I am. It's acceptable for me to feel like I don't know what I'm doing. It's acceptable for me to be so angry. It's acceptable for me to be so sad. It's acceptable for me to be so happy. Wherever I am, it's acceptable and good. I think I know that so much of my life I have found myself to be not acceptable, which breeds shame and it breeds resistance. And if I don't believe that my present self or present moment is acceptable, I'm going to be going to my past, looking for things that I could have done differently, or remembering, like, oh, this is painful, I got to avoid that. Or I'm going to be going toward my future to try and control everything to make sure I don't suffer or that I resist whatever is unacceptable. And so the moment I was like, okay, like, yep, I'm going to lean into whatever and wherever I am right now, I'm just going to lean into it. I'm going to feel the emotion fully. Even though it may be uncomfortable, it may be so painful, I'm going to go there. Most often, people, or I'll speak for myself, I didn't want to go there because I thought it was too painful, or I didn't think I could handle it, or it would consume me and I would never be able to like overcome it. But what I found is quite the opposite, is that like when I avoid it, it stays with me my whole life. But when I accept it and allow it to come up within me and give it a space, like I get to be the container for this energy to come up and accept it and love it, like these parts of myself. I get to accept them. They get to feel heard. They get to be acknowledged. Like they get to express this anger. Um, then what my experience is that it's subside. It resolves, like it dissipates, and I am more capable and competent than I thought I was. And so this has made all the difference for me. Like it's what's helped me to dive in. It's what's helped me to be like more open and accepting of myself, and then therefore accepting of others where they're at. Um, because I now am able to accept my own anger, my own sadness, I'm able to accept it from others. Again, like if somebody's angry or if somebody's sad, I no longer need to, I can accept that. And therefore I no longer need to like fix it or change it or change myself so that they're not angry or they're not sad. Uh, and so it really, like, I'm finding as I accept who I am, where I am, I'm able to like be mad when I'm mad, be sad when I'm sad, be happy when I'm happy. It puts me into my body. I'm not overthinking like I was. And it puts me more into like now,
Mm.
right? Like, because I accept what's now. I'm accepting of what's now. If I'm, again, I keep bringing up anger because that's something I suppressed my whole life. If I'm angry right now, I can be angry right now. And I can acknowledge it and I can express it in ways that are appropriate. Yeah. So I I don't know if that answers the question.
I think it did. I think it did really well. I think it
Yeah.
did really well. It's turned towards that what's difficult,
Yeah,
right?
like what's real. Like turn towards what's real. We like I've lived my life thinking that I was living the line of least resistance because I would avoid conflict and I would like push down my feelings, because like, oh, like that's that's the line of least resistance. However, what I'm realizing is that that's the line of most resistance, of like, because it's not accepting what's here and now. And my body, my nervous system was spending so much time and energy trying to like avoid what's really here and now or suppress the emotions that are really here and now. And so now that I'm able to like accept it and like and allow it to come out, it's so, life is so much more effortless.
Yeah.
Life is, yeah, effortless, and like I move about life now with more grace and ease than ever before.
Yeah. You know how many people come to me and, in initial consultations will talk and they're like, I'm exhausted. I don't have any energy. I have all these physical issues, this thing with my digestion and this thing with my head, and I can't sleep. And so much of it is around the survival accommodations that we have I need to do all these things to feel safe in my life. My nervous system has to do all this extra work to just get through a day. And once these fall away, once we can just be with what is and we don't have to manage it so much and be so afraid of it, all of a sudden, oh, here's energy. Yeah, because we all get the same amount of life force because we're connected to the earth, we're connected to the sky, right? It's a foundational practice of our work, connecting to earth and to the sky. And the same amount of energy is available, but you can use it to suppress life or to really ride the impulse.
Mhm.
And that's what you're speaking to. It's so beautiful.
Yeah, and that imagery brought up for me, like my whole life, for most of my life in different sections or pockets, I have felt very stagnant and just like here. And I'm realizing that's because I was avoiding the wave, like avoiding like the now impulse. And so now through this work, through this group, I'm able to like ride with the wave and therefore ride with like create momentum to move forward instead of feeling so stagnant and stuck.
Yeah. And it's
Mm.
visible. It like your whole being exudes that when we meet. It's just so amazing. It's so amazing. To kind of land for dessert, I would love to hear, I would love to hear with everything that you've been through over the last year, you know, our group and your own personal work and the big transformation that you've been through, what are you looking forward to? What is possible for you to look forward to or towards now that you couldn't look forward before?
The goals that I've had for myself my entire life, uh, I now see as possible. Um, I've had these goals in the back. I've had these goals in mind my entire life, uh, but because of fear, anxiety, or keeping myself small so as to like protect myself, uh, I I haven't fully allowed myself to like really go for them because my goals uh, are pretty. My goals are pretty big, and so I know now there's nothing stopping me, which is so exciting. There's nothing stopping me, and so uh, I'm excited. I'm excited to continue to get to know me and like connect with myself in ways that I haven't yet, which I believe is a process of life. Is that we continually get to connect with ourselves uh, and mature. I'm so much more mature now than I was before. Um, and so I'm looking forward to continuing that. I'm looking forward to taking steps that honor myself, that honor my body. Um, and I don't know. I guess these are vague things, like vague general things. Um, but I'm also just like I look forward to like living life, to trusting the process, trusting myself, trusting my body. Um, I also want to learn more about the nervous system. I want to learn more about um, like everything that you teach. Um, I see myself, whether directly or indirectly, helping others like in their journeys as well. Um, I'm just excited for the possibilities, like because now I see that they're limitless,
Mhm.
limitless. And I'm tapping more now into my creativity and artistry. Like I'm getting more into like that realm. Like I mentioned in the beginning, I love comedy, and so I want to do more things in that space, in that realm, that haven't allowed myself to because of fear and because of everything that's been mentioned. And I'm excited to show myself to the world, like on a small scale and on a large scale, like, because I now know that who I am and who I am and what I have to offer the world is why I'm here. It's like, it's uh it's important. It's very important. And so I don't know if that really answers your question.
It totally does. And I just want to be like, you go,
Yeah,
there's
totally,
just like
totally.
my inner encourager parts are like, go Derek, go, because it's so, your goals and possibilities are limitless because you are limitless.
Mhm, mhm.
And you have really discovered that.
Yes, and something that I'm finding is like, when I feel inside my body, both theoretically and like physically, as I feel inside my body, it feels like there were things that were like barriers inside my body, inside my nervous system, inside, like, that are now just like have dissipated, and I feel an emptiness inside of me that's like so beneficial. It's like the space, like, it's like there's a calm and a peace, like you're in an empty room, or like an empty, like, cathedral, and it's just like peace, uh and therefore like limitless space.
Hmm.
It feels like the dust has settled, and um like things have been cleared out, like, so that my mind and body are like free to, like, to be myself, instead of, like, yeah, the clutter. It feels like all this clutter has been cleared, to now being like, oh wow, these things are possible. Like, I'm seeing myself, like, also for the first time in a way that I never have, inside and out.
Oh, I have such a perfect image in my mind. You know how my brain works in images so much of what that looks like. And I'm reminded of this really beautiful principle of healing. And it's a part of the mystical principles of healing, that our presence creates space and space digests our experience. And once we have that inner limitless space, you can really do this beautiful rest inside yourself. You can rest inside yourself just as awareness. And resting as awareness is truly liberating. It's the deep rest that we long for. It's your vagus working in its low tone. And you can't get there if all these walls and barriers and clutter and cobwebs are there,
Yes.
right? It requires that inner clearing in order for you to be able to rest as your nature, which is this space. And what a beautiful way to end our conversation, like picturing this inner cathedral, and really a home and a place of worship, and it's a sacred space.
Yes. Yes. I feel now more at home within myself than I ever have.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. Like, what is it called in English? The story, are they the three little piglets, or what are they?
Yeah.
Where they built these houses first from straw, and then from
Mhm.
sticks, and then from bricks, right? And the wolf comes
Yes.
and blows them.
The big bad wolf and the three little pigs.
Yeah, like he comes and like blows the houses over. And I almost like picture our ability to land inside ourselves as like going from one house to the next, to the next, to the next, until you're in the cathedral of Derek,
Yeah.
it's just amazing.
Well, that's good imagery. That's impressive imagery too, because much of my life, I had built up this image of a cathedral, pristine and white on the outside, like for everyone to see, yet where, like, on the inside, everything was like decaying and like not really me. Like, I had built this, like, and now it's like, oh, I demolished that, rebuilt, a new cathedral, but like that's like me on the inside. That's like I live here. Like this is fully me, you know.
Yeah. And it gets to be reflected on the outside for others to see
Mhm.
in this really beautiful way. I can't thank you enough for sharing your heart with us, with people who might be hearing about peace with food for the first time, about you for the first time, or me for the first time, and just being an ambassador of peace with self and peace with food, and that liberation is totally possible when we show up and when we're ready.
I know what it should be called now. Peace within.
Ah,
Ooh,
I
peace within.
like that. I like
Um,
that.
but yeah, I'm so grateful that I was referred. So grateful that I chose to do the group, and so grateful now for everything, all the benefits I've received that are carrying me like to so much good, like so much good.
Hmm.
So thank you so much.
You are most welcome. And just may you continue to shine, because it's just your nature. And it's just so, so beautiful to witness. Thank you, Derek, so much for your generosity. And thank you for making our group so special.
It's my pleasure.